The patrol route along the Keller border was supposed to be quiet. Sergeant Elias Ward had walked it more times than he could count, boots pressing into pale alien soil that shimmered faintly under the twin suns. The planet had no official name yet. Maps called it Sector 9 Green. Soldiers called it the waiting place, because nothing ever happened there until it did. Elias moved alone, rifle held low but ready, visor scanning the horizon. He was a human peacekeeper, one of thousands sent by Earth to stand between alien powers that did not trust one another enough to stop fighting on their own. Humans were new to the wider galaxy, but already known for something rare. They could stand in the middle of chaos and still choose restraint. That was why Elias was here. The air was thin but breathable. Wind moved across crystal-like plants, making a soft ringing sound. Elias paused, checking his scanner. No hostile signals, no ships. No life signs beyond the small creatures that burrowed beneath the ground. "Routine patrol," he muttered, mostly to keep his thoughts steady. He took another step and froze. The scanner pulsed once. Then again, a life sign, close, too close. Elias raised his rifle and turned slowly. About 10 meters away, near a broken stone ridge, someone stood watching him. She was tall and slender, her form humanoid but clearly not human. Her skin had a soft silver-blue tone, catching the light like water. Her eyes were large and dark, reflecting the twin suns. She wore no armor, only layered fabric that moved gently in the wind. Elias did not fire. She had made no hostile move, no weapons, no sudden approach. Instead, she inclined her head slightly, a gesture he recognized from cultural briefings. Respect, or greeting. "I am not your enemy, human," she said. Her voice was calm, musical, spoken in precise galactic standard. Elias kept his rifle raised, finger near the trigger. "This is a restricted zone. Identify yourself." She took one slow step forward, hands visible. "I am Lysara of the Virelian Accord, Envoy Class." Elias' breath caught for just a moment. Virelians did not wander border zones alone. They were a powerful species, careful and strategic. An envoy appearing here without escort was not an accident. "Envoys don't patrol minefields," Elias said. "You're deep in contested space." Lysara's gaze did not waver. "So are you." That was true, and Elias did not like how easily she said it. He lowered the rifle slightly, not enough to be careless, but enough to show he was listening. "State your purpose." She studied him for a long moment. The wind brushed against them, carrying dust and the faint ringing sound of the plants. "Observation," she said at last, "and confirmation." "Confirmation of what?" Lysara stepped closer, slow and deliberate, stopping well within speaking distance. Elias' scanner showed no weapons, no implants, only a strong, steady heartbeat. "Of you," she said. Elias frowned. "You've been watching me? Your patrols," she corrected. "Your choices, your restraint." That set something tight in his chest. "That's not a reason to cross borders alone." "For my people it is," Lysara replied. "We do not decide futures lightly." Elias felt the weight of protocol pressing down on him. He should report this immediately, detain her, escort her back, call command. Every rule told him to create distance. Instead, he stood there, listening. "What future are you deciding?" he asked. Lysara's eyes softened. Her voice dropped, not in volume, but in tone, more personal, more focused. "The future where humanity matters more than it already does." Elias did not respond. He had trained for combat, negotiation, even first contact scenarios. He had not trained for this quiet intensity, this feeling that something important was unfolding without alarms or explosions. She moved closer again, close enough that Elias could see faint patterns along her skin, shifting slowly like living starlight. Then she spoke the words that would stay with him forever. "We would make beautiful children, human." The sentence was soft, not demanding, not crude. It was spoken like a statement of truth. Elias felt his breath leave him. His mind raced, searching for the right response. Anger, shock, a warning. Instead, he felt something worse, confusion. "That's inappropriate," he said finally, though his voice was steadier than he felt. "You're crossing a line." Lysara tilted her head again. "I feared you might hear it that way." "Then why say it?" "Because in my culture," she said, "it is not desire alone, it is recognition." Elias took a step back, increasing the distance. "Recognition of what?" "Compatibility," Lysara answered. "Strength balanced by restraint, instinct guided by conscience. Your species possesses traits that do not degrade under pressure. They adapt." Elias swallowed. "That doesn't give you the right to say things like that to a soldier on duty." I did not mean to challenge your duty, she said. I meant to test it. That made his grip tighten on the rifle. You tested it enough, Elias said. This conversation is over. I'm escorting you out of the zone. Lysara looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. As expected. As they walked, Elias stayed alert, scanning constantly, yet his thoughts refused to settle. The whisper replayed in his mind not as temptation, but as implication. Beautiful children, not romance, not possession, legacy. They reached a neutral marker ridge where patrol zones overlapped. Elias stopped. From here, you go back to your people. Lysara turned to face him. And you return to yours. Yes, she hesitated, then spoke again. Know this, Sergeant Ward, others are watching this border. Less patient than I, Elias met her gaze. Is that a threat? No, she said. A warning. She stepped back, then paused. When conflict comes, remember this moment. Remember that someone saw humanity and did not see weakness. Before Elias could reply, Lysara activated a small device. Light bent around her form and she vanished, leaving only the ringing plants and the dust. Elias stood there for several seconds, heart pounding. He activated his comm. Command, this is Patrol 7. Report incoming. As he spoke, distant tremors shook the ground. His scanner lit up multiple signals, fast and aggressive, enemy forces. The quiet border was no longer quiet. Elias turned toward the approaching threat, rifle raised, mind sharp. Whatever Lysara had meant, whatever future she was measuring, duty came first. But as the first enemy silhouettes appeared on the horizon, one thought burned in his mind. The galaxy was changing. And humanity had just been noticed. The first explosions tore across the crystal plains less than an hour later. Sergeant Elias Ward took cover behind a fractured stone outcrop as energy fire cut lines through the air. The enemy scouts had moved faster than expected. They were not a single species, but a loose coalition of raiders who thrived on border chaos. Where treaties were unclear, they attacked. Elias fired in controlled bursts, dropping one target then another. His training kept his hands steady, but his thoughts were loud. Lysara's warning echoed in his mind. Others are watching. A transport ship screamed overhead and crashed several kilometers away, sending a pillar of smoke into the sky. Elias tapped his comm again. Static answered. Command, respond, he said. No reply. He checked his map. The nearest Allied unit was too far. If the raiders pushed through this sector, they would reach civilian outposts on the far side. Elias made a decision. He advanced. Moving from cover to cover, he drew enemy attention away from the main route, firing and retreating, leading them into uneven ground. The crystal plants shattered under energy blasts, their ringing replaced by sharp cracks. After nearly 20 minutes of fighting, the raiders pulled back, unwilling to waste more resources on a single human. Elias lowered his rifle, breathing hard. That was when the air shifted. The same distortion he had seen before rippled nearby. Light bent and Lysara appeared again, this time with two armed escorts emerging behind her. They were tall, armored, their weapons sleek and unfamiliar. Elias spun, rifle raised instantly. Stand down, Lysara said, firm now, no softness in her voice. We are not your enemy. You chose a bad time to return, Elias replied. This sector is active. We know, Lysara said. That is why we are here. Her escorts scanned the area with practiced precision. One spoke quietly in their native language. Lysara nodded. You tracked the raiders, Elias said. You knew they were coming. Yes, Lysara admitted, and now they know you are here. Elias felt anger rise. You used my patrol as bait. Lysara met his gaze without flinching. We observed your response under pressure. You did not retreat. You did not overreach. You protected unseen civilians you could not even confirm. That's my job. For many species, she said, that would be optional. Before Elias could respond, another explosion rocked the ground. This one was closer, too close. A new group of raiders emerged from the smoke, heavier armor, larger weapons. Lysara's escorts raised their rifles. Envoy extraction is advised, one said. No, Lysara replied. We stay. Elias stared at her. You'll get killed. Perhaps, she said. But this moment matters. The raiders opened fire. Elias did not hesitate. He moved beside the Virelian soldiers, coordinating instinctively, calling targets, adjusting positions. The aliens adapted quickly, following his signals without question. Together, they held the line. Energy blasts lit the sky. Elias took a hit to the shoulder, armor flaring as it absorbed most of the impact. Pain burned down his arm, but he kept firing. Lysara stayed behind cover, watching everything, not hiding, observing. When the raiders finally broke and fled, leaving wreckage behind, the silence that followed felt heavy. Elias slumped against the stone, breathing hard, blood-soaked part of his sleeve. Lysara approached him, kneeling. "You are injured." "I've had worse," he said. She examined the wound with practiced care, applying a small field seal from her kit. Her hands were steady. "You disobeyed your own safety to protect strangers," she said quietly. "That's what peacekeepers do." "No," Lysara replied. "That is what humans do." Elias looked away. "You still haven't explained why you're really here." Lysara finished sealing the wound and stood. "Because negotiations are failing, war is likely." Elias felt a chill. "Between who?" "Everyone," she said. "And when it happens, my people must decide who to trust." She paused, then spoke more softly. "Your commanders see treaties, we see patterns, and humans are a variable the galaxy has not solved yet." Elias laughed weakly. "We're not that special." "You are," Lysara said simply, "because you choose limits." Before Elias could reply, his comm crackled to life. "Patrol 7, this is command. Respond immediately." Elias straightened. "This is Ward, I'm alive. Sector saw heavy engagement. Multiple hostiles repelled." There was a pause, then Sergeant, new orders. "You are to disengage and return to base at once. Viralian presence complicates matters." Elias looked at Lysara. "Command wants you gone," he said. "I expected that," she replied. "Escort protocol requires that you abandon me," Lysara finished. "Yes." Elias clenched his jaw. Leaving her here with raiders still nearby felt wrong. Everything in him resisted the order. "Sergeant," command said sharply through the comm. "Confirm compliance." Elias hesitated. Lysara stepped closer. "This is your test," she said quietly. "Not of desire, of duty." Elias closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, his decision was clear. "Command," he said. "Negative. Envoy Lysara is under my protection until safe extraction. Hostiles remain active. Abandoning her risks escalation." Silence filled the channel. "Sergeant Ward," command said at last, voice cold, "you are disobeying a direct order." "Yes, sir." Lysara watched him, something like respect deepening in her eyes. "Very well," command replied. "You will answer for this." The connection cut. Elias exhaled slowly. "I just ended my career." Lysara shook her head. "You may have saved many others." They moved quickly after that, heading toward a secure ridge where Viralian transport could reach them. Along the way, Lysara spoke. "My words before," she said, "they placed a burden on you. That was not my intent. You said them on purpose." "Yes," she admitted, "but not as temptation, as truth." Elias said nothing. "In my culture," she continued, "to speak of children is to speak of future paths. Of shared responsibility." Elias glanced at her. "Then you chose bad timing." She gave a faint, almost human smile. "Humans often say the same about us." They reached the ridge as a sleek Viralian ship descended, engines humming softly. Before boarding, Lysara turned to Elias. "What you did today will be seen." "By who?" "By those who decide whether humanity becomes a shield or a target." Elias watched as she boarded the ship. It lifted smoothly and vanished into the sky. Alone again, Elias activated his comm and started back toward base. He did not know what punishment awaited him, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty: he would make the same choice again. The return to base was quiet, but the silence felt heavier than gunfire. Sergeant Elias Ward walked through the steel corridors of the orbital station with measured steps. His armor was cleaned, his wound treated, yet every soldier he passed seemed to look at him twice. Word had already spread. A human peacekeeper had disobeyed orders for an alien envoy. That never went unnoticed. He was escorted into a plain chamber with a long table and a curved window that showed the stars beyond. 3 officers waited inside. Their faces were hard, controlled, professional. "Sergeant Ward," the senior officer said. "Sit." Elias obeyed. "You are aware," the officer continued, "that your actions violated direct command authority." "Yes, sir," Elias replied calmly. "You risked diplomatic fallout. You risked war." Elias met the officer's gaze. "With respect, sir, abandoning the envoy would have guaranteed it." The officers exchanged glances. "You believe you know better than strategic command?" another officer asked. "No," Elias said. "I believe humans are trusted because we don't walk away when it's inconvenient." Silence followed, long and uncomfortable. Finally, the senior officer leaned back. "You will remain confined to base pending review. Dismissed." Elias stood, saluted, and left. Days passed, no further orders came, no punishment, no explanation. Then the galaxy changed. It began with signals, encrypted, urgent, spreading across diplomatic channels. Multiple border systems erupted into conflict as old rivalries ignited all at once. Fleets moved, treaties broke, neutral zones vanished overnight. The war Lysara warned about had arrived. Earth's leadership was pulled into emergency councils. Humanity was still young among the stars, powerful in some ways, fragile in others. Choosing sides too early could destroy everything they had built. That was when the Vierlian Accord made its move. A formal transmission reached Earth's highest council chambers. Lysara appeared on the display, standing tall, composed, her presence commanding attention. "The Vierlian Accord recognizes humanity," she said, "not as a tool nor as a resource, but as a stabilizing force." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "We request a defensive alliance," Lysara continued, "and we base this request on observed evidence, not speculation." She paused. "Specifically the actions of Sergeant Elias Ward." The room went silent. Footage played, Elias holding the line alone, coordinating under fire, protecting civilians he could not see. Then the moment he refused the order to abandon her. "He chose responsibility over advantage," Lysara said. "That choice defines his species." The alliance shocked the galaxy. Other powers took notice. Some withdrew, some hesitated, some reconsidered plans they had already set in motion. Humanity was no longer an unknown variable. They were a moral one. Elias was summoned again, this time to a much larger room. Civilian leaders, military command, diplomats, faces filled every seat. "You've become inconveniently famous," one diplomat said. Elias shifted uncomfortably. "That wasn't my goal." "We know," another replied. "That's why it matters." The charges against him were quietly dropped. Instead, he was given a new assignment. Border Liaison Unit, Joint Operations, and a name appeared at the top of the partner list. Lysara. Their next meeting was nothing like the first. It took place aboard a neutral station overlooking a fractured star system. No weapons. No patrol tension, only guarded calm. Lysara greeted him with the same respectful inclination of her head. "You changed many equations," she said. "So did you," Elias replied. They walked together through observation halls, discussing strategy, humanitarian corridors, evacuation routes. The galaxy burned in places, but here, something else was forming. Trust. At one point, Lysara stopped near the window, watching distant fleets move like slow stars. "My words before caused confusion," she said, "among your people." "They did," Elias admitted. "Among me too." She turned to face him. "Then let me be clear." Her voice was steady, open. "When I spoke of children, I spoke of outcomes, of futures shaped by shared values. Not possession, not impulse." Elias nodded slowly. "That makes more sense." "Good," she said, "because the future we are building does not require more life, it requires better choices." Elias felt something ease in his chest. The war did not end quickly. But it changed direction. Human forces became shields, escorts, mediators. Wherever humans stood, escalation slowed. Not because they were feared, but because they were trusted to hold the line without crossing it. Other species began requesting human involvement. The phrase spread through diplomatic circles, translated into dozens of languages. Humans choose limits. Elias remained on the border, often alongside Vierlian units. He and Lysara spoke often, sometimes of strategy, sometimes of culture, sometimes of nothing important at all. One quiet cycle, as stars drifted beyond the viewport, Lysara spoke again. "Do you regret your choice?" she asked. Elias thought of the order he disobeyed, the career he nearly lost, the war that still burned. "No," he said, "not for a second." Lysara's eyes reflected distant light. "Then the future remains possible." Far away, on worlds Elias would never see, children of many species grew up hearing stories about humans, not as conquerors, not as legends, but as the ones who stood between desire and duty, and chose duty without losing their heart. And that, the galaxy learned, was humanity's greatest strength.